Capricorns, November energies are upon us. And the message I'm getting for you is that your peace has purpose. Let's have an aligned astro chat about it. Cello all, Stacy the Black Feather Intuitive, and welcome to your Transformational Tarot for this November. And Capricorns, what an interesting message to get. I'm very curious to see how peace has a purpose, because I mean, that seems like pretty on the nose, pretty obvious to most of us. So I don't know why that is a specific message to you guys for November, but we are about to find out. We are going to pull cards for you from the World Visions Tarot by Taroteca. And then we're pulling an overarching theme for you from the Divine Feather Messenger. This is by Alison DeNicola and David Shearer. So without further ado, let's get to it. Okay, so let's check out what these beautiful feathers have to say to you in relation to that message. Raven, the universe is calling you to notice important synchronicities. Interesting. So definitely feeling that November is going to bring about a lot of as above, so below energy. You're going to be noticing systems being needing to be overhauled. And I feel like these are emotional systems as well as sort of like physical, tangible systems needing to be overhauled. I'm hearing very clearly that you may start noticing things just kind of going wonky. You might have to replace certain things. And I feel like those are also, we don't always see those as synchronicities, but those are synchronicities as well, because if you're getting a message about needing to replace something or repair something, it's better to get it done now, because you're going to need it like a month from now or 2 months from now when something happens. And you're going to be without it. Well, now you're like, oh, thank God I got that done, because this situation could have been so much worse, or I would have been in dire straits kind of thing if I hadn't have had that done. So definitely feeling that there's going to be a lot of up and down this month, but it feels like it's connected to kind of like your 3D life and 3D world. I love that the Raven is coming through for you again, that as above, so below, because I do feel that this is a month where you're kind of you're aligning things. You're going to see where alignment makes sense, and I feel like there's effortlessness to making that alignment happen, making that alignment occur. And yes, to the synchronicities, but also that's as above, so below. When we are aligned to our purpose, when we are aligned to the things that are going well for us, then we are in flow. And Source can help us so much better in that regard when we are in flow. Okay, so presently, where are you right now in your transformational journey? What part of you is shifting, rising, or dissolving? Interesting. Four of Wands. So I feel the first thing I'm seeing here is soul contracts. I'm feeling like where you're at right now is you are working through a lot of different soul contracts. Now, what exactly is a soul contract? A soul contract is something that you sign on to when you're floating up in the ethers before you have incarnated in the body, in the physical, and you say, okay, in this lifetime, here are the themes I want to explore. Here are the experiences that the overarching experiences that I wish to have. And in the process of all that, I connect to my soul family and say, who's in, who's with me, rah, rah, who's going to help me to do this? And, you're going to have a number of, volunteers say, oh, I'll help you to do that. I'll help you to do that, because then we can do these things together. You are working on this aspect of love, for example, and I'm working on this aspect of love. So let's come together on that. Or we're working on forgiveness. And so we can be partners in that, working on forgiveness together. So I feel very much that November, I don't want to say like every interaction you have is a soul contract. I mean, if we get right down to the nitty gritty of it, you could say that about every person that you meet on the planet, because nothing really kind of happens by accident in those ways. But, to put all that, craziness to the side, because it just makes the brain hurt. The focus here is, I want to say, the significant interactions, the interactions that stand out in your mind, I feel are very directly connected to soul contracts that you are working through. And I do feel that there are going to be some soul contracts that you're closing out this particular month. Now, that can mean that you're just simply, wrapping up a long-standing client experience. That can mean that you're moving out of one phase of your relationship with your partner and moving into another phase of that relationship with your partner. It can mean a lot of different things, but I feel like the focus for you here, when we're talking about where you're at right now, is it's evaluating these contracts that you have and evaluating, I want to say, where you are investing your time and your energy. Because I do feel like, not to say you're not going to have enough energy, but I want to say you're going to need to be really like intentional about where your energy goes, because there's going to be a lot of closeout this month. And I feel like that closeout is opening the door. It's kind of like, yes, it's prepping you for 2026, but I really feel like it's actually prepping you for December. There's something astrologically I feel that might be shifting for you, Caps, at this time. And this is the wrap up and the closeout, so that now you can start fresh into something new. I truly believe that even though we are all kind of like programmed to think about, December 31st as the end of one year, and January 1st as the new year. And so there's that natural energy of, new and building and, closing, and all that stuff. I feel for you guys, for all of us, we're all on our own little different pattern and sort of year-long trajectory. And so I feel like that's what is coming up for you here. So there's a closeout energy. Is this helping you to shift, rise, or dissolve? I feel very much it's about dissolution, right? Dissolving things. And some of these soul contracts, I feel you're dissolving even if they aren't completed. And I feel like this has to do with, now we're going down a real rabbit hole, like different timelines, shifted timelines. So we talked about alignment with you and the Raven. I feel like that's what this is about. Anything that's connected to the old versions of you, it's got to be closed out and just, done, because there is something new that you're moving forward into. So expect a lot of resolve, resolution. I don't feel that this is going to necessarily be icky. And quite frankly, you Caps have been under the gun for a little while now, if I recall. I don't remember always what comes through in my readings, but I remember, like, I think it's just been like at least 3 months of readings for you guys where it's just so heavy. There's just a lot you've been dealing with. So I feel like this month, where you're at right now, all of this closing out of things, it's going to actually really kind of bring you some peace. And maybe that's where peace has the purpose. Closing things out so that you can have a clean slate for December. Here's your catalyst. What's fueling or hindering your transformation? Is this resistance or rocket fuel? Interesting. So, yes, this is, again, I was talking about like the energy that you're investing, right? Don't overinvest. You've been so overinvested. You've overcommitted. And I feel like with this 10 of Wands, the catalyst is that, okay, you're not going to make it to where you need to be with all of these irons in the fire and without a wagon or a bag to at the very least hold them or take a little bit of the weight off or to help you distribute it. I feel like this is very much about closing out of old ways of behaving, being, doing, building, driving yourself, certain standards that you hold yourself to. I feel like all of that is shifting. And I feel like that's what the last few months has been for you, is recognizing where maybe you've bitten off a little more than you can chew, where it's no longer healthy or effective or even efficient for you to be taking on so much. That 10, new beginnings based on an already established foundation, that's really significant. And I feel like that is what you are opening up to. But the catalyst comes, and it's going to be up to you to let those things go, or to decide which ones you're going to keep and which ones you're going to let go. And I keep hearing you're going to have to let at least half of the responsibilities, the commitments go, in order to find balance, in order to find the new normal, that wants to support you, wants to help you help yourself, but also eventually help you to be able to help others in the way that you feel called to. So there's still some work. There's decision to be made here. And some of these contracts you're going to be absolutely fine to kind of close out, and some of them you're going to recognize that you're kind of resisting a little bit. You're hanging on to them for a reason. So I want to say this is going to be a little bit, it wants to be rocket fuel for you. It's going to be rocket fuel for you if you don't resist it, I feel is the best way to describe that. Deep root. What deep belief, wound, or soul contract is driving this transformation under the surface? Control. So it's a deep belief that you've got, and Caps, I'm cheating here with a little bit of like the Stacey's novice astrology here, but and said with love, because I am an A type and I am a control freak myself. Caps, you really, because you can be in control, because you have a natural leadership to you, it feels like kind of a natural, more organic place to be, but I'm really feeling like that's your downfall right now. And it's interesting, we had the 10 of Wands and now we're going back to the 9 of Wands, and that this is the deep root. This is the deep belief, is that I'm just going to say to you, control is an illusion. It's a great illusion in this game of life. The only thing we really have control over is our response or our reaction to whatever life presents. We can spiritualize it and say, when you were in the ethers and you were designing your soul contracts, you had control over the things that you were going to experience. Absolutely. But quite frankly, I'll just be honest, not to put too fine a point on it, but when we're here having the experience, it doesn't always feel that way. And it's not helpful when you're like, oh, so I chose to give myself a sickness, or, oh, I chose to have this person break my heart because there's something I'm supposed to learn. Okay, great. Yay. No, I feel like that's not helpful. So what you kind of want to understand is that what you are releasing, what is sort of the doors that are closing, the reset that is occurring right now has to do with issues around control. Either you feeling like you need to have all of the control, or you feel like you're completely out of control, or you're trying to navigate, the waters of control for yourself. That November is going to bring about a lot of awareness around this concept of control for you. And I'm going to say it's a deep belief that might be, dare I say, a limiting belief. And anything that is a limiting belief can be challenged. Anything that is a limiting belief, I encourage you to go in and ask as many questions as you can. Why do I believe this? How does it serve me? Is it still serving me? Is it causing me to be further away from people than to be closer together? What is driving this need for control, or what is driving this complete lack of control that I am experiencing and feeling in various forms and guises? So I definitely feel like you're going to be addressing deep issues around control. And I'm going to say, I'm going to take it as far as to say, consider this month that every interaction that you have is designed to point something out to you about where this has infiltrated your life, where this is subconsciously making choices for you. Because when you bring the subconscious to light, now suddenly, it's not unknown. It's something that you can do about it. I always like to say, How do you know if something, if you can, to fix something if you don't even know it's broken? But then when you know better, then you can do better, right? And that's kind of what I'm feeling here. You're coming to the end of this. This is the opportunity for you to really end the pain, the suffering, the major challenges that you've had as a result of these control dynamics. This is your way out. Like, this is the window out. But you got to, you're going to be faced with it. You got to look at it, dead in the eyes and decide how you want to deal with it. And I feel like a lot of it is going to be ego-based work. My heart goes out to you with that, because I'm in the middle of that myself. Really just having to take a hard, long look at me, my choices, my reactions to things. And, is that really the way I want to, be seen out in the world? Or is that the way that I want to contribute, right? Or is this the way I want to feel about myself? So I'm feeling a lot of that, that is coming through for you. So just trust and know that it's coming up because it's here to help you. It wants you to be able to see it and heal it, because as you're moving forward, there's so much more for you that's going to be, more peaceful. But you got to let go of this in order to be able to actually understand and know peace. I feel like that's kind of a big part of this. What's dying away for you? What role pattern or identity has run its course? Feeling like you always have to do everything by yourself. Again, that control piece. No one else can understand me, or no one else can do it better than I can. Or every time I involve another person in my stuff, everything goes awry. So I'm just going to do it myself. I feel like this is what needs to die away. It is dying away, but it's also what needs to die away. And I feel like this month, especially like the second week of November, there are going to be some glaring examples in your life of where you might actually be getting in your own way, where hermiting is actually causing you harm. Like, it's keeping you from the people that we interact with are all reflections for us, right? They're all mirrors. If we hermit all the time to protect ourselves from seeing things that we might not want to see or face about ourselves, we're not really doing ourselves a service, and we're certainly not growing. So the universe gets wind of that right away and says, okay, well, then we're going to put you in situations where you're forced to interact with people in order to be able to see the things that we're trying to get you to see. So the being in the hermit mode, I feel, is dying away now. And, we're going to see what replaces it with that phoenix potential. But I want to say to you, it's not that the hermit is bad, but I want to say everything, all good things must come to an end, because after a while we outgrow it, or we take it for granted. We use it. It becomes a crutch rather than a help, right? Or it becomes a poison or a toxin to us rather than nourishment. And I feel like there's something coming up around this with you guys in November, where it's a recognition of, I can't hide anymore. I can't not face what I'm feeling or experiencing, or what's coming up for me. You guys are brave souls, and I feel like you've got what it takes to deal with this. And I feel like once you kind of surrender to this and you really look at, what's facing you, and you look at it honestly and have a conversation, I feel like you're going to be able to move through this. The healing will be pretty quick, pretty swift. You'll be able to apply it. And you've got what it takes. It's just that, and I know you guys are already really tender and vulnerable right now. So, it takes that extra thing to kind of you feel like you got to put your hand on the block and close your eyes and hope to God that, they're not going to chop your hand off, right? I get it. It's stressful, but you got what it takes, and you can do this. So here's your highest phoenix potential. What can rise from the ashes of this hermit? What is your soul calling you toward? This is your breakthrough energy. Yes, Queen of Cups. Feeling more stable in your emotional fortitude, feeling more stable in your emotional space, feeling like your love cup is full and overflowing, and that you've got enough to be able to give to the things that need you, which, PS and FYI, number one on that list is you. And I feel like that's why a lot of this has transpired. Is there's been a real, challenge to come to deep awareness of self. Um, I feel like you're getting ready to kind of launch into a new volume of your life, not just a chapter of your life, but a new volume of your life. But it's kind of like, I'll use the analogy of packing for a trip. You pack very differently for a 1 week trip to the beach than you do for a 3 week trip overseas, or a 3 week trip to Australia or to Egypt, for example. I can pack for a 1 week trip in an hour, right? Like, I've got it down to a science. That's easy. Unless I have to like go out and purchase things, I can throw that together in an hour or less. But if you're talking about like a full on trip, 3 weeks in a new country, there might be a number of different excursions that you're going to take where you need different styles of clothes, different shoes. It's going to take you probably a couple of days, maybe even a week of like thought and preparation, and then putting everything together. That's what this feels like. When we're going, it's not just a chapter turning over a new leaf. This is literally a new volume of you. And so it's a place that you've never been before. So you got to give it a little extra thought. You got to have a plan and have some structure. And Queen of Cups is coming through because you have not felt emotionally, I want to say, connected or balanced in ways that have created confidence within you. But that is what is the potential here. Filling your love cup till it's full and overflowing brings you a great deal of confidence to be able to navigate this new shift and change ahead, and to do it knowing that you've got everything that you need, and whatever you're not able to kind of pack right now, you're going to be able to figure it out on the trip as you go. But you have the basics, you have your needs covered. No one's going to do this for you. And that's what I feel is the big lesson, or the big aha moment that's coming out of this Phoenix potential. Next steps. What is, excuse me, what is emerging just around the corner? What energy or experience is coming in to support this next phase, or I'm going to say this next volume? 5 of Cups. Okay, so I feel like what all of this has been about for you connects to some level of grief that you have been avoiding, like feeling, experiencing, processing. You've been either you've been avoiding it for yourself, or you've been actively enabling another person in your life to avoid their grief. And I don't want to say to you that the next volume is going to be all about grief. I don't feel that. I feel like it's changing the way you approach grief. It's the acceptance of grief as part of the life cycle and the life process. And understanding that the ways that you have avoided dealing with grief, or that you have been processing grief, haven't really gotten to the root cause, right? Because you're still trying to control things. You're still trying to save yourself or save others from fully feeling into the experience of whatever it is that they are going through. And I feel like this is a big stage for you here in November, because as I mentioned before, you're wrapping things up. It's a closeout time. You're closing this stuff out so that you can be really confident in moving forward and moving ahead. And 5s are all about that shift, that change, that transformation. And I feel like in this instance, 5 of Cups is really bringing you into a space of like getting right to the heart of the matter. And when you're right in the heart of it, you can't miss it. You can't mistake it. And you're going to be able to deal with it. You're going to be able to process it once and for all, is kind of what I want to say. Like November feels like it's bringing you to the pinnacle so that you can, when you close the door on this, the door is closed forever. And the fresh start is genuinely, truly exactly that, a fresh start. Almost like, nobody knows your name, like it feels like a complete reinvention, of you, so to speak. And, I'm using this as kind of an extreme analogy. For some of you, it might actually be that where you like decide, okay, this is the time when I'm relocating and I'm going to some place that nobody knows me and that I don't know anything. And, therefore I can kind of like get off the grid a little bit and restructure and regroup and build myself up anew. But for the majority of you, I feel like this is really kind of closing out ways that you have been um, coping mechanisms, work situations, patterns and cycles that you've been caught up in where it brings nothing but grief. Well, why does it keep bringing nothing but grief? Because it's part of a cycle that you haven't witnessed yet where you can break out of that cycle. Grief is part of the life cycle. It's part of the process. So how do you approach it? That's the shift. That's the change that's going to make all the difference in the world. And I want to say with the Hermit card, going away or hiding away or dealing with things kind of halfway is not going to work anymore. And I don't want to give you the impression that you do that all the time. So, please don't shoot the messenger, just passing on what I'm receiving. But I do feel that there is a component of that. And once you see that, you can't unsee it. And that's where the healing really starts to happen. Because then like I said, I feel like the healing happens quickly on the other side of that. Your role in this particular shift, how are you navigating this transformation? Are you resisting, flowing, grieving, or boldly rising? Little bit of resistance. But I also want to say, I feel like, yes, there's grief because we just talked about it. But I also feel a little bit like if you're watching this and you actually like apply this wisdom, this Hanged Man is actually going to bring you into flow, because the Hanged Man is about surrender. So if I radically surrender to what is, it is what it is. I can't change what has presented itself to me, but what I can change is my approach to it, right? Then my answer is simple, or my direction is simple. I cut the choices down from 10 to 1 or 2. Actually, it's 2. Resist or receive, like be in flow, right? Move ahead. And I feel like with this coming up, the Hanged Man is actually going to bring about, there's the word again, a lot of peace in your heart, because you're going to recognize how much you have taken on maybe other people's stuff as well as your own, how much you have maybe, like I'm seeing the spider here and the spider web, how much you have ensnared yourself in other people's stuff, or maybe how much you've been ensnared in other people's stuff. It's of course a general cap reading, so we're all a little bit different in our life cycle and our path and all the rest of it. So where do you sit into all of this? But we're definitely talking about sticky webs. Maybe it's a web that you've woven that you're like, I don't want to be here anymore. I don't want to keep weaving this web. Maybe it is about getting caught up in other people's stuff, either unnecessarily or with the good intentions of trying to help or fix, and not realizing that really what you're doing is you're acting out of the wound and trying to control a situation, right? So, or you're acting out of, I have no control, I feel powerless, so I just give up my control, to the spider and its web. So I really feel like this can be about flow for you. Yes, there is resistance, because we already talked about that in the other cards. So this is the message to say, okay, I don't want to resist anymore. As painful as this is, as sucky as this is, I want to feel all of it so I can move past it and get to the other side of it and move forward into something new. And so therefore, okay, I radically surrender to what is. I can't change the past. I can only choose different choices now that are going to inform and influence my future. And that's what I feel this is all about. So I want to say radical surrender into source energy. Give the reins to source and really follow what source shares with you, how source leads you, intuitively, where source directs you and guides you, because that's where the healing is on the other side of that. Circles of support. Who or what is influencing your transformation right now? And is it positive or a negative influence? Oh, I love it. Ace of Coins. So you've got some new ideas. I feel like that's been kind of influencing what this is for you. I do feel like you've got a strong support system or a strong support network. When I look at this tree and the roots of the tree, I feel a lot of ancestral energy connected to this. What's interesting about this, though, is I feel like even this, as I look at it, it feels a bit overwhelming. It feels like it's too much. So I would say to you, are all of these orbs of light that are connected to the tree, are they all part of your support system, or are they coming to you for support? I feel like there's a bit of discernment here that's going to be coming up for you to consider. Where am I maybe misreading or misunderstanding a dynamic? Maybe there is an imbalance of reciprocity in it. Maybe I'm thinking that we're on equal footing, and so I give, but then when it's time for me to take, I don't receive, right? So I feel like at the end of November, all the orbs in this tree are probably like, there's going to be less. I want to say there will be less orbs in this tree that are your legitimate circle of support. But I feel that the orbs that are left band together and create an even brighter light. And it's that light that's going to show you where you want to plant the new seeds. So I'm going to say you are, I don't want to actually say, are you being influenced positively or negatively? I feel more like you're going to see much more clearly what relationships of support are really doing for you. And there's an evaluation of that. Who really is here to support me? And what part do they play? What role do they play in your life as a result? That's interesting. Hopes and fears. What are you dreaming of becoming? And what scares you about actually doing it? Yeah. You're afraid of this wrap up. You're afraid of this completion. And I feel like a big part of it is because there's this fear that you might not matter, that what you've contributed is like you're spent, you're done, and that's all you have to offer, or that's all you know how to do. And it might even feel a little bit exhausting thinking about, well, if I have to learn a new skill, or if I have to learn a different way of interacting, I don't know that I have the energy. And I feel like the interesting thing about the laurel wreath here is that it's kind of like the infinity sign as well. It's always giving. There's always, like, it never ends, right? So there's never a point in time where there isn't some kind of resource. There isn't some kind of, whatever it is that you need, it's here. It never breaks. So I feel like when we're talking about that, who are you dreaming of becoming? I feel like the fear again is that somehow you won't matter and that you won't have the energy to grow. But I feel like it's the exact opposite because it's a laurel wreath. So I want to say, you want to think about it in terms of, if your success was assured, how would that change your approach to this new venture, right? We're talking about this new volume of Capricorn that you're moving into. Yes, you can bring all the knowledge and the wisdom and whatever. But if you are trying to kind of reinvent yourself, there's a lot of that you're going to leave behind. The blank slate, the fresh start is actually a beautiful thing, because it's a fresh start based on a solid foundation of knowing what you don't want, knowing who you don't want to be. And for some of you, maybe, yeah, you do know who you want to be, and you're clear on that. Awesome. For those of you who aren't there yet, you don't need to be afraid of this, because again, it's not going to break. It's never ending. There's always going to be resource. You just have to keep going around and around until you kind of figure it out, or you find it. You find the path. It shows itself to you. So I want to say easier said than done, but like, don't allow the fear to stop you. Don't allow the fear to keep you stuck in a broken cycle. Allow this now. Allow your fear to come along, but allow fear to come along so that it can learn a thing or two about successful growth and the joy and the reward and the fulfillment that comes from growing out of a difficult situation, that success is assured. Because fear is the voice of the ego that is just afraid of its own death and afraid of pain and doesn't understand the importance or the significance of it. The ego comes from a place of the ego comes from a place of lack, and it comes from a place of fear. Like growth is pain, so I don't want to feel pain, so I'm going to do everything I possibly can to, keep myself from experiencing that, not realizing that then we never grow. And there's beauty on the other side. There's beauty in growth. There's excitement in growth. There's newness in growth. There's adventure in growth, and that's what's coming for you. So outcome, if you stay on course, who will you be on the other side of this journey? What is the result of embracing the full death and rebirth cycle? Truly being able to let go, to release it all, and to walk confidently onto the new path and the new journey. And you are guided by the moonlight, which means you are guided by your intuition. You are guided by a softer, gentler light. It is not the kind of the harshness that the sun can be, the harsh truth that the sun can be. The moon, I want to say, gives you a more gentle journey as you're moving forward. Wow. I really feel that you guys know that brevity is not my strong suit, but I feel like that's a great place to end on, because it is a path to peace, and it's a new level of peace that you're going to achieve that you've never truly experienced before. And I want to say, some of you've never actually truly experienced peace. This is the journey that you're on. And on the other side of this, there is peace. And you will have such a delicious experience of it, to the point where you'll be able to recreate it and make more. You'll never go backwards. You'll only go forwards. All right, Capricorns, my goodness. I want to say this feels a lot better than, the last couple of transformational tarot readings that I've done for you. I feel like you're on the precipice of definitely moving forward. So I want to say this is the last lap. So hang on and hang in. That's another thing about the 8. The 8 is the last lap in the race. Yeah, you're tired, you're hungry, you're exhausted, you're, frustrated. You're like, oh my God, I just want to stop. But you got 1 mile to go. Just get through that mile. That's that last lap. Because otherwise, if you stop now, you're going to end up right back here anyway and having to push through that mile. So just do it. Just do it. You got this. If there's any way that I can be of service, click on the link below to book a session with me. I got you. Your back, front, sides, bottom, and top. Otherwise, sending you guys so much love and support. I hope you have a great November, and we will see you on the flip side. Transform well.